Oh my goodness, you guys. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it today. Like, I was struggling this morning. For those of you guys that don't know, today marks a day in history. Actually, last night marks a night in history. Taylor released her album, and as a Swiftie, I had to listen to the entire thing all the time. And I am exhausted. I was up super late, and I don't know why. Hello, Polish Dora. Oh gosh, I can't even talk. Hello, Dora. I don't know why, but for some reason too, my hormones seem to have shifted. I got up really early, so I went to sleep at like 5, and I woke up at like 9 or something. That's really early. So I'm like, "Ooh, I'm tired." Oof. It's like it struck me, and I was trying to go back to sleep, or I was trying to figure things out, and then I was listening to the album more. So I didn't really sleep anymore, and I think it's because, sometimes in the journey, your hormones shift, and I think my body's really adjusting to the gym and stuff, and I'm doing better. It's actually a sign my hormones are better if I'm gonna start going to bed earlier and getting up earlier. That's a better sign. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I don't know how to I'll just say llama, but thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, today I'm just basically dead. So I just want to preface by saying I'm really tired because I also go to the gym Thursdays, as you guys know. So I went to the gym and I go late. But if I'm going to start going to bed earlier, I might have to go earlier now, which is weird. So everything is always changing with me, I swear. It's really weird. But I'm already doing everything health-wise. Like, I'm doing my calories, I'm doing the gym, I'm doing all the stuff. So, whatever I build upon now with the seasonality and everything, it should just continue, and I should just continue to get better. So when I go back to the gym, I usually have a huge flattening effect, or, like, it really takes me back a step because I start burning more fat. So, it's, like, really tricky. And I don't know if you guys know, but the fat is it's hypofat. It, like, makes you feel more hypo. It's hard to describe. Due to years of seed oil consumption. So, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna try not to die on stream. I'm gonna try not to pass out while I'm doing this. For those of you guys who don't know, I did a live stream with Big T Bariatric yesterday. Um, so that's on his channel. I would check it out if you guys are interested, of course. I think it turned out pretty good actually. So I would watch it. Um, and yeah, I think that's pretty much all my announcements pre. So we can go ahead and get started. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired. But anyways, let's go. So our first video, I'm not gonna respond to the comments on my health updates, I don't think. I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe I could. I think I'll leave that. I'll leave that one. Okay, so we'll go to the deaf. Okay. So this is the video from Monday. um, so Existential Gamer says, OMG, as a former deaf, I'm so here for this story time. I'm glad. I'm glad you guys liked it. Like, it wasn't, I was talking to Big T Bariatric yesterday, and I was like, we don't always have to do videos that are like, algorithm chasing, or you're trying to get numbers, you're trying to do this or do that. Like, I think a part of YouTube is also doing some personal stuff and talking about things to, for me, it's just about like, I wanted you guys that have been deaf to know that I have too. It's a very humbling thing to go through. And, I'm not like the most humble person in the world, but I am pretty real. So it's like, yeah, I was deaf and I wanted to talk about it. It was funny to film it with Eric because we filmed it super late, like very, very, very late at night. And it was just so like it was just funny because we had to like remember everything and I think we still struggled a little bit, but it was a long story. And I think that's what tripped me out about it was just like that went on for like months, like a couple months. But I'm glad that you liked it. Existential Gamer, I appreciate your comments. Um, C Wiz said, super proud of you, Alex. This took a lot to share, and I'm certain it helps some folks out. You're a doll. I appreciate it. I just want people to know, like, it's real. It happens, you know? I think that's where and some people didn't know what a deaf was. So it's designated ugly fat friend. It's basically when somebody tries to be your friend or they talk to you to try to romantically date your friend. That's basically what it is. And it does happen a lot to fat people, essentially. So Existential Gamer, she had a really good comment here too. So she said, Alex, you're so right about introvert on introvert crime. Because they basically said usually the people that deaf and that are deaf are both introverted. So she said, the times I was deaf hurt me because I thought I was making a friend similar to myself, only to find out that he faked the whole thing and wanted one of my hot friends. I should have known at the time because they always ask about the hot friend and steer the conversation that way, not subtly. But my introvert self just wanted a real connection, so I ignored it. Plus, there's a bitterness like, so you want my hot friend who literally has nothing in common with you and barely likes you, while you keep chasing and manipulating her friends. But someone like me is so far beneath you. I don't know, it was giving delusional on the defer's part, and I lost respect. I agree. I think it is kind of like a lack of reality because it's like if you have to duff somebody to get with somebody, then they're probably not interested in you. You know, especially if that friend is so extroverted and stuff, and that's why you're attracted. If they're not talking to you, then they don't want you. So you have to just like move on, you know? So I think it is a dumb thing to do, but it does occur. It is real. That's all we can say. Lindsay Beam liked the Zoom labels because mine was the deaf and Eric's was deafer. So it's funny. And then lastly, Violet said, you guys are so funny. I'm glad you're feeling better. That's funny. Okay. It was fun. It was fun to do. Okay, so now we're going to move on to my Tess Holiday reaction, which I haven't done. I don't think I've ever done a Tess Holiday reaction. I honestly can't recall one. But this obviously has more comments. So I'm going to go to top comments. So Violet says, I have 3 sons who are adults. You are correct. You don't want to be overly critical or overly permissive. Both have bad consequences. So that's in regard to Tess doesn't want people to talk about diets around her kids, which I thought that was really bizarre. Like, I felt like that was a really weird take for her to have because you can't control the entire world. Like, we don't live in like I don't know. Reality just doesn't bend that way. It's not going to be whatever you want, you know? So it's a weird statement. I mean, maybe you could say not in my house, but are you really going to be able to do something like that in public? Like, I don't know. It was weird. All the TikToks I reacted to from her were weird. Boo Squeezy says, F your beauty standards with fillers, lip injections, hair color, hair extensions, fake nails, makeup, fake eyelashes, designer clothes, piercings, tats, etc. LOL. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I literally thought Duff was a Hillary Duff reference and I thought they were saying Hillary Duff was ugly or something. No, no, no. No, I don't think so. That is funny though. Yeah, there's like a whole movie and I watched the movie. That's how I knew it happened to me and it was like, "Oh my gosh, that actually happened to me." Impassion says, "What it looks like to me, I don't hear anyone shitting on overweight people as they lose weight. I think that the obese community is so threatened by the weight loss of others that they just think that that is shitting on them. Just the act of losing weight is what they perceive as shitting on them. Also, forbidding your children from discussing things you're insecure about is creepy. Yeah, I thought it was a bit much. Hello, Day. Oh my gosh, I can barely read. I'm tired. So just, I was up all night listening to Taylor, so I'm tired. Um, Anyways, so I would say I don't I don't know if it's just the weight loss. Like what they want you to do essentially is they want you to act as if you lose weight that you're the exception. So that's what they want. They want you to appeal to their genetic argument. That's the whole thing. So if you don't appeal to that and you say, I lost the weight, pretty much anybody can lose the weight. This is how I did it. These are the steps I took. That's what gets them angry. If you just say, I lost weight because I was lucky, or I just did some healthy habits and I just so happened to lose weight because that's how my body is and it doesn't reflect your body, then they wouldn't get mad. So it's a very specific thing. They're looking for the genetic argument, and that is their biggest concern. And that ultimately is what I predict will bring them to eventually try to cancel me. Not now. I don't see it happening now at all. I'm just saying I don't. I think it probably would be later in the year. It depends on how much weight I've lost because I tried to explain this to a lot of people too. Like, I feel like the weight that I'm currently at, it's not threatening. I'm down that 80 pounds, 90 pounds that most of them have lost multiple times. I haven't broken through to the other side of that yet. And when I do, that's when the ears will get perked up. And then as it keeps going, they're going to be very upset because I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say, I'm the exception. I was special. I could just do it. I'm not going to do any of that. And that's what's going to make them mad. So I think they predict that or that is what they see as shitting on them, blanking on them. Hello, Uwu. Mark asks, do you or have you struggled with blood sugar issues during weight loss? I find it to be the biggest setback in weight loss, even though I'm just insulin resistant and not even pre-diabetic. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an issue. Um, again, I'm gonna say it again. I always say it, but for me, what really helped with insulin resistance was getting rid of seed oils because the fats, they can cause it or they can increase it. It's not good. So that's why when people have fried foods, they're like especially bad because it's combining those oils with especially starch, which starch, so things like bread, rice, etc., they're very, very heavy on insulin compared to even sugar. So I remember when I looked at a study back when I was paleo, and they were showing that your blood sugar goes up and then comes back down when you have like a Coke, but if you have bread, it goes up and it just stays up forever. It stays up really, 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 really high. And so the insulin is used a lot more for starches than even sugars. So that's why I always promote sugars and fruit and honey and things like that over bread and rice and even potatoes. But potatoes would be the best of the starches. But that's why for people who are insulin resistant, I would say if you were like diabetic, you probably should just have a lot of potassium and have tons of like low glycemic fruits like tomatoes and eggplant and things like that because the potassium helps with insulin resistance as well because it helps your body to process carbs more effectively. So that's kind of the thing. I always am cognizant of my potassium. I don't always get enough because you have to get a lot. If you look at their daily requirement, it's really high. And I think for women, they need more than men do. Honestly, it's crazy how high you actually need. But I try to just get at least close to it or get something. Like I had 5 bananas today for breakfast, for example. That's 100% of your vitamin C. That is, a lot of potassium. That's probably like almost half of the daily amount of potassium. And then I don't have bread. So that kind of thing helps. But yeah. So it's that kind of thing. That helps with that because the insulin resistance is major in terms of hunger. It's major. And same, and then you just have to exercise. Yeah. People don't like to hear that either. You got to exercise. You got to lift weights. You got to exercise. You got to walk. You got to do things. That really helps too. So activity is really important for carb metabolism. You have to be, our muscles should be getting glycogen coming in and going out. So we should always have things flowing. You don't want stagnation in the body. That's a problem. So, and that's more diabetes friendly. If you're just having tons of like glycogen in the muscle and it never goes out because you never use it, that can lead you to be more diabetic too. It's complete sedentary lifestyle. It's not healthy. So yeah, that part too. So people, they often will hear me say like, "Oh, sugar, I don't think sugar's bad." I don't. I know a lot of people think it is, but I don't think it is. I just think you need to be active and you have to have enough potassium and you have to have vitamin C and you have to have a balanced diet and you have to this and you have to that. And you still got to be in a deficit. So it's like, you know, it's still, there's a lot of like bullet points on that. I would never advocate for just a sugar diet with nothing else in it. That would be horrible, you know? So it's like you have to think of it balanced, and that is fine. Ooh asks, what's your favorite healthy meal? My favorite healthy meal, I think if I were to just think in terms of health, like I love just like steak. I like to do a steak in the Instapot with potatoes. For me, that's like a very healthy meal that's very easy to do. And I just love it. It is so good. I think steak is honestly, it's one of the best tasting things in the world to me, but it's kind of expensive and it can be high cal because I have a big one when I have it. So I have to be, um, cognizant of all the other stuff. Yeah, steak, potatoes, and broccoli is so good. Yeah, I like carrots too. I like a stew. I really do. Um, Mark says, thanks for the info. Yeah, fruit is really good. I started eating it a lot recently and kicked myself a bunch for believing the mainstream narrative. Yeah, it's not it's not bad for overweight people at all. It's definitely the best source of carbs. Like if you want your extra credit assignment, have ripe organic fruit and nothing else. That is the absolute ideal source of carbohydrate. um, I live in a realistic world, not an idealistic world, right? So I will have sugar and I'll have certain things. I'll have like sugared yogurts. I had cream cheese. So I had bananas and cream cheese today and it was sweetened cream cheese. Like I'll do that kind of stuff just because it kind of bolsters my energy. Because again, I don't eat bread. So I'd have so many people, they're like, "You shouldn't have sugar at all." And I'm just like, "I'm not trying to be keto, you guys." Like, I literally would basically be like extremely paleo or like, just like extremely strict if I didn't have it. So I'm like, I don't want to be extremely strict. It's difficult. But if you want the extra credit assignment, you want to have the absolute best outcome, fastest weight loss, best metabolism, ripe organic fruit is your path. Your spotted bananas that are organic, that is going to be your golden carb and no other carbs. That would be the ideal carbohydrate source. That's what our body is meant to have. So that's what I would say. It's balanced, it's carby, it's perfect. So it's not going to make you gain a bunch of weight. It isn't. You have to eat a lot of calories to gain a lot of weight. And people just, I don't know, they have this view that like fruit is demonic or something. It really isn't. It's actually very low calorie, to be honest, in comparison to like starch, where you can have like tons of rice and it's really easy and you can gain a lot of weight eating a lot of rice. So I think people they view things a little differently. Far from Jaded says, I was addicted to food and used exercise as my replacement. I guess I'm one of the lucky ones. Yeah, I mean, exercise can really help. Like I always try to uplift the benefit of exercise because it's so damped down in mainstream conversations. It's really, really, really important. Like it actually really helps a lot, but it's not like a short term. It's a long-term plus. So it's like over time, it makes you less insulin resistant. Over time, you have more appetite control, but it can take months. It could take like a year, and people think of things as like, if it doesn't work in 8 weeks, it doesn't matter, because that's the way that our studies and science is organized. It's like 8 weeks. So if something doesn't have an effect in 8 weeks, then people will say it has zero effect. So that's where you get a lot of people saying exercise doesn't matter. It's all about diet. It's like, no, it really matters a lot. Like, honestly, I would say it's probably almost 50% of your result. It's definitely diet. 100, diet is so important, but I think most, especially super morbidly obese people, you're going to have a really hard time sticking to anything if you're not exercising, because your calories have to be drastically lower. You're going to be a lot hungrier. Things are stagnant. I told you, your muscle wants to be using the carb and then getting new carb in, using, getting. That's what you want. That builds your metabolism. If everything's stagnant, then your metabolism is slow, and that makes it harder to lose. So people don't think of it that way. Not eating bread is such a good choice. It was the hardest thing for me to let go, but I lost so many pounds when I stopped eating bread. It's very easy calories. It's super easy to eat so much calories from bread. I don't think bread is bad. I just think it's so easy to gain weight eating bread. Exercise is good for your mental health. It makes you feel better during the day. Yes. And I think too, it just helps all around. It's just good. Honestly, I can't praise it enough, honestly. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Somebody said they hate us thins. I think they probably do. I think a lot of people are salty and jealous about people who are thin. Um, I really do. Daisha says, found you recently. You're super blunt and straightforward, which I love. Absolute savage. Thank you so much. I'm glad. Not everybody loves it. Some people don't. Um, let me see. I'm going to see what else we got. I'm just looking at top comments. Yeah, so somebody says, I don't understand why Tess Holiday, has so much support in the FA community. She's obviously so performative and a complete liar. With her going on a diet after years of pushing anti-diet talk and claiming to be pro-Palestine while still drinking Starbucks. I don't know what that means. I haven't looked into that part, but you would think that these people would see right through her. She's been a scammer from the very beginning, but they forgive her for everything. That's interesting. To me, I think there's part of Tess where she does believe it until she didn't, because I think her health started going down fast. And so, like, I feel like back in like 2015 or something, she believed it. But I think today, I think she struggles with believing it. And now she has this whole brand around it, and it's really difficult to change. And so she's trying to manipulate her audience for probably an eventual diet that she's going to do, or that she's going to lean harder into, or she's going to have to at some point. But I think that's why she made that comment of like, it's fine if you lose weight, just don't shit all over fat people when you're doing it. That's what she's trying to do. It's like a way to try to shift her audience. And it's like a way of moving the goalpost. So it's not that dieting is bad and losing weight is fat phobic anymore. It's that it's only bad if you say something about it. So she's trying to manipulate her audience. I don't know if it will work, but that's what she's trying to do. It's like she's trying to shift them over to a different way of viewing it. Okay, Mia says, I think there's a happy medium when talking about body and diets with kids. Instead of talking about how your body looks, it might be better to talk about what your body can do, how foods make you feel, ingredients, macros, vitamins, etc. My family were a bit harsh, so we got called fat or Anna if we were on the higher or lower end of normal. I will say I'm fundamentally the same person, but I do think I'm also a lot different than my former heavier self. I would argue I'm less of a people pleaser now than when I was bigger. I'm sure that can definitely be a thing. Losing weight for losing weight helped me set better boundaries and become more selfish with my time. Yeah, I hear that a lot. I know it's a lot of very overweight people. There is a lot of lack of boundaries, and that can be within ourselves. So, like boundaries, like I'm not going to eat 10,000 calories for dinner tonight, or boundaries with others. So I see that a lot where people that are very fat, a lot of times they struggle with boundaries in general. I would almost, I don't know if that's true for every single person. Like I can't say that, but it's something I've observed and I've seen a lot. And it's definitely something I've experienced too. So it's tricky. It's a tricky thing. Polish Dora says, I'm 4'11 and 95 pounds, went from 161, um, 26, okay, to lower than 95 pounds in 9 months. And my sedentary maintenance is 1350 kcal a day. I need to exercise an hour a day to be able to eat like a normal person. Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Hello, cool cat. I don't think it's that big of a deal to exercise. Like an hour a day. Like I feel like this idea that we're supposed to be sedentary and sit down for every single moment of every day, I don't think that that's natural. I don't think that that's what, you know, it weirds me out that I ever felt that way because I have such like I have an active job. I'm always up and around and moving around all the time. And then I go to the gym now. And if I am able to transition from that job, we'll say when we'll manifesting. But when I when I do transition from that job, I'm probably going to go to the gym, do full body weights 3 times a week. It's like, and then maybe even cardio 2 other days. It's like, I don't think I can go back to being sedentary. I just don't. I've been non sedentary for almost 2 years or just about 2 years. And it's like, I don't think I can go back to that. It's just not it. Um, Cyrus asks, I hope this doesn't come across offensively, but how do you manage to be so controversial while fat? Do you think your self esteem has increased because of losing weight in order to be more genuine? I think for me, it's honestly like it's just a personality trait. Like I've always been willing, like I call it disagreeableness. I have a very high disagreeableness. Um, So I'm willing to stand against the crowd basically. And I don't care that much about what other people think. Like there's been very rare moments that I did and I like almost killed me. Like it's weird to say, but there's been moments where I've cared a lot about what a specific person thinks, but never like society as a whole. And so even in those moments whenever I have tried to be people pleasing, it's like I've almost died. Like it's like my health goes way down. Like it's just such an unnatural state for me. It's so stressful. So I think for me personally, it's like a personality trait and it's just easier to just be real. And I think as far as losing weight, I had to just be real because I think when I tried to please others, that's what made me eat so much. That's like a huge part of why I had the ED because I need to try to please others or like go along with the crowd. So I think that's just a personality trait. And that's why I think I have to do this because I have that type of personality. So I think if I'm not, then who is kind of thing. That's how I feel. So it's that kind of thing. I honestly think it's just how I was born. It's like a personality trait. So I don't think that was earned or anything. I think that's just who I am. Like it's just a part of who I am because I've been that way my whole life. Um, Mark says, my anxiety increases by 1,000 times if I go 3 days without exercising. I think our bodies crave it, but the mainstream lifestyle beats it out of us. Yeah, I would agree. I think, especially when people, it's like they get off of work and then they watch TV for like 6 hours. It's like that is a huge waste of time. Like, you don't need to watch TV that long. You know what I'm saying? That's how I see it. I personally don't watch TV. I tend to just listen to YouTube videos and stuff, but it's like you can be active while you're doing that. It's different. So I don't know. I feel like podcasts and audiobooks and YouTube and stuff like that. It's like you can still be active while you're consuming that content. And that's what I do. Because I do watch TV, but I watch TV once a week on my day off. So it's like, I think some of modern life, we do it to ourselves, you know? Yeah, food or alcohol, that's not healthy. I agree. I think humans are just lazy. That is why we invent stuff to make life easier, which is not always good for us. Probably. I could agree with that. I mean, I think it's okay to be more efficient, but we do have to make sure we're always making progress and not like, you know, there's certain progress where it can be backwards or we can be like actually getting worse, with certain things. So it's like I think it's fine to not have to wash our clothes like the olden days, but we need to do something productive with the time that's created from not having to do it. And I think people don't always do that because it's like you could just, you know, I think it's easier to listen to YouTube videos at the gym or something. Like that's easy. That's a way, or you could watch something at the gym because we have it on our phones and stuff. So it's like, I think it's just about changing that kind of mindset of just like, I have to sit on the couch every day and watch TV for 6 hours because a lot of fat people do that, honestly. The universe is in a constant state of change, some good, some bad, some neutral. Yeah, I could agree with that for sure. Um, let me see. Okay. Oh, and the other thing is like Tess totally farted out on the Leo Skeppy thing, like where she was like, I don't I don't know. What do you know about not being able to fit and stuff? It's like, okay, girl, So people were saying that they didn't think she watched it. So Jog or Joe GDP, I don't know, says, I honestly think that Tess didn't watch his video and only judged it only on the other FA activist commentary, which is really dumb. Like, why would you stitch something you didn't even watch? Like, that is just terrible. So I don't know. And she still had it up, and that was a trip. But that's what I'll do for that video. Gosh. Which FA influencer do you think is the worst? That's a good question. I would say Aubrey Gordon. That's the name that comes to mind. I think she's done the most damage. And I think she leads a lot of them. And that would be the person that does the maintenance phase. So if I had to like think immediately, that's who I would think of today. There's probably other people that like created it or like, deeper in the past that are worse. But as of today, I would say that person. And I think she's totally, uh, yeah, I just can't even. Like I've done stuff where I've reacted to her and it's like I feel like I don't even know how to describe it. I felt like I was like in an inquisition or something the last time, or like I was at like a cult meeting the last time I listened to her. It's just like complete nonsense, just so with such a strong conviction. And it's like an endless stream of BS that just comes out of her mouth and it just keeps going and going and going. And it's like, it's so maddening. It's crazy. But I don't know, with my inherent bitch trait, it's really easy for me to just be like, no, 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 no. Like, it's just easy for me to do that. So I don't know. I don't know, you guys. Um, okay, so on this one, this is the one where like the fitness guy, he dressed up as a fat person for a day. And Mike Vasquez, I loved his comment. He said, it's not surprising that people would think calories in, calories out is the only factor given the ubiquity of the food is fuel platitude. Understanding that food is both fuel and building materials in the form of macro and micronutrients makes things a bit clearer. After all, you can technically run a diesel engine on kerosene and you can technically build a cabin using cardboard, but neither is ideal. Not all fuel and building materials are made equal. That was so good. I was so happy that he said that because I'm like, that's basically it. You know, I remember one of the moments in the video, I called out that the kid, he wasn't eating enough fries. I was like, "You're not eating enough fries. You had 2 milkshakes, and you're not having, like, 3 plates of fries." Like, I was like, "You cut out one of the milkshakes, and then you'd have the fries instead." And I told that to Eric on the phone as I was talking to him about it, and he was like, "Well, I wouldn't do that." He's like, "I would just get the 2 milkshakes, da, da, da." And I was like, "Well, you were never that big. You were never that big." Ooh. Eric was like 40 pounds overweight, so he always makes me pull that fat card. Every time I have it, fat card. Boom. That's how you do it. I should do a video of like how to gain as much weight as possible. I should make a video like that because I know how to do it. I can tell you everything I did. I have every hint and everything in the universe that can give you all the tips to becoming massively overweight. I know exactly how to do it. And you would eat more fries, less shake. That's how you do it. That's one of the steps. Oh gosh. Let me see what you guys said. Polish Dora says, "Do you think that FA influencers really believe in what they preach, or they realize how harmful obesity is?" I think it depends. I think some of them, there's really 3 people. So there's the ones that do it for the money, which I feel like that's probably the more famous ones. Then there's the ones who have an ED, who are delusional, so they do believe it. And then there might be some that are actually malignant or evil. Which some of them I don't necessarily wanna name names, but just because you know, I don't want to right now when I'm saying that, but it's like I do think some of them are possibly just, like, wanting to harm other people, or actively harming others. Like, I do think it's a minority of them, but I do think it exists. So I think really you can't make a general statement about all of it. I know, Mark, I'm sure. I'm sure, but you can also warn a lot of people of what not to do as well. Okay. So Scarlet says, "I think quid is like an American saying bucks instead of dollars." And somebody said correct. So I'm like, okay, because I never knew what that meant for the life of me. I never knew. I never understood it. And then I was so like just tragically American when I was watching that because I'm like, I can't understand what his kilos are. I don't know what quid is. I don't know what he's talking about. Some of the foods I had never heard of in my entire life. At the very least, I could understand him because this ASM artist that I like have been obsessed with for years, he's British. So I actually know the accent pretty well and I can understand it at least. So at least I could understand what he was saying, but I didn't know what the words meant. So let me see. Somebody says SB. I'll just say SB says, "Yeah, it doesn't seem authentic to call it fat since he's emulating an overweight guy with a beer belly, not an actual obese or morbidly obese person." Yeah. Which I mean, I'm sure there were some limits of what he could do. And to him, like having a belly like that is like the fattest thing in the whole world, I'm sure. But it was just like, oh my gosh, dude. And then when he had his shirt open and all that, I'm like, there's nobody, like, I don't think there'd be hardly any fat guys that would actually like have their belly hanging out, like in public and all that. Like, it's just not authentic. Like, I wish I could have been a part of the video and I'd been like, wait, cover up. Wait, don't go to the gym. Wait, you don't play football with your friends. Or as I would say, soccer. You don't play that. No, you don't do any of those things. You stay home and you watch TV and then you eat. That's what you do. That's an accurate experience. And maybe you go on TikTok and you rant about how everybody hates you because you're fat. No, I'm just kidding. That'd be the new version, the updated version. um, let me see. Cold Cat says, personally, I would get 2 burgers, 2 fries, 1 milkshake, and soda. Yeah, that's more that's more of like a fat oriented. Um, okay. Let's see. Lydia King says, I feel like eating a bunch of crap after going to the gym is a very fat thing to do. I responded and I said, not as fat as never going at all. Because I'm like, there is this like weird idea that fat people are just constantly going to the gym. That's not true. Like, I literally, you guys, one time I had somebody on this channel tell me that the reason that obesity exists is because of vitamin A. And they were like, it's because there's too much vitamin A and everything. That's why people are obese. And I was like, what in the vegan BS is that? That sounds like vegan crap. And I knew it was vegan crap because when I was keto, I used to eat liver every single day and I lost weight. So that is not true at all. And I have plenty of eggs, plenty of cream cheese. I have a lot of vitamin A. It's like a major part of my diet, actually. And I've still lost weight and kept it off. Like, I've lost weight eating so much vitamin A. In fact, I feel like when I'm eating more vitamin A, I'm more likely to lose weight. I think it's actually the complete opposite of what that person was saying. But people, they really think that fat people out here are just eating liver every day, eating tons of liver and egg yolks, you guys. Like, that's what the fatties are doing. It's like, you guys are nuts. Fat people are eating potato chips. I need to do a what I eat in a day reaction because I started doing them, but they're repetitive because the whole time all I'm saying is seed oils and starch, seed oils and starch, seed oils and starch. That's all they eat. The vast majority of a fat person's calories is typically seed oils and starch. So it's fried foods almost always, or bread, or like a huge pizza, which is like a bunch of bread. And then it's like cake, potato chips, fries, vegan meats. I see a lot of what I eat in a day as a fat person. A lot of them eat vegan meat. You know, it's that kind of thing. That's what people are eating. I know what people are eating. Okay. They're not eating liver. I can assure you of that. Okay, so let's see here. This is so Kyle said a lot of FAs seem genuinely offended by fat suits, so I'd like to see some of their reactions. It would be funny. They would get really mad, probably. I wasn't mad. I was just like frustrated because he wasn't doing it right. I'm like, you needed a fat person to be a part of this video. We needed fat rep. I could have been your fat representative and I could have told you what to do. You would never go out with your shirt open. That would never happen. You would never go up to somebody and ask for a chicken nugget. That would never happen. Like, no. So somebody said maybe a way the dude could experience how it feels inside could be binge drinking the night before he started this so he would be hungover all day while also wearing the fat suit. That's the only way I could think of a healthy person to feel what it's like. What else he could have done is he could have done an all-nighter. So when you don't sleep, he could have done an all-nighter or slept like 2 hours because that will create insulin resistance when you don't sleep. And so then he could have felt like the actual hunger and more of it and the exhaustion that a fat person feels on a typical daily basis because insulin resistance makes you really tired and hungry. Our two favorite things, the twin demons of obesity, are being tired and hungry. So if he did an all-nighter, that would have worked. That would have gotten him there. He would have been like, I'm tired. He wouldn't be playing footy or football. He'd be sitting on the bench. He'd be like, I'm tired. That's what he should have done. I'd have told him, do an all-nighter. Stay up all night. Then you'll get the experience. Then you'll know what it's like. And then you'll want to eat sugar and candy and fries and stuff all day, you know. Lots of starch. You want to eat bread and rice and stuff all the time too. That's the kind of stuff. That's what happens. Okay. So let's move on to glitter and lasers. Our favorite girl, our gal. I actually do like covering her. She's fun. Okay. So Melanie says, this is Anna at her most relatable, sharing Any journey can be met with unwanted advice and opinions. I'm very productive about my life goals within my family because there are a few members who will always steal my sunshine. Yes, I think it can be. I do think that in some cases it can be safer to not talk about your dieting goals or stuff, like even in your personal life, if you have people that are going to want to sabotage you, which does happen. Um, I personally don't have that. And again, I'm not a people pleaser whatsoever, so it doesn't bother me. But for some, it may. Um, so I liked that comment because I do think that there is a lot of those conflicting advices. Because this is Anna O'Brien's short where she did like YouTube comments in real life. And it's like all these different things like, you can't do this, or if you do that, that doesn't matter because you haven't done this. It's like all those kind of comments. You do get that kind of stuff. Kyle says, I think a lot of people underestimate just how beneficial walking can be. Yes. When I first started losing weight, I did a ton of walking and basic weightlifting. You don't really need intense workouts to see benefits, especially early on. This is so true because we're sold that it's this biggest loser. Like you have to like yell and scream and be fighting and like, and you have to like grunt and yell and all that at the gym to lose weight. You don't. It's honestly just like, think of it like a metronome. Like weight loss from supermorbid obesity is like a metronome. It's like dun, 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 dun. It's like taking steps every single day, like in time. It's a lot of routine and just like that metronome feeling. It's not yelling and screaming, it's metronome. That's what gets you there because it's just about sustained effort and doing honestly things on a routine. It's a lot of routine, but that's life anyways. Life is a lot of routine as it is. Far From Jaded says, what do you think of one, psychedelics, and two, people who have used insight from them to lose weight? I think it depends on the person. I do not think it would help me at all, but I think for me personally, I'm very attuned to my subconscious. And I just mean that because I'm very introverted and emotional and these kinds of things. So I'm always looking internally and I always am looking at internal states. So I don't think it would help me whatsoever. Like if I were to do any insight I would get, I probably have already gotten. That happened to me when I smoked weed one time, which I didn't like it. So it was like the only time I ever did it because I didn't like it. And I was like going through kind of like a brutal situationship ending moment. This is like back in the day. This was like around 2017, I guess, 2016, 2017. And I think it was 2017. And I was like, I'm going to do this to see if I can gain some insight about the end of that situationship. And I didn't. It was like everything I already knew. So I think for a lot of people, it doesn't actually help. But for some people who maybe are blocked off from their subconscious or people who don't ever look inside, some of those people, it may benefit them. But I think you have to not be like a scared person. If you're like, I'm terrified, oh my gosh, and you have like a bad trip, then that's terrible. That would not be helpful. But if you're like a calm person or like a rational person and you never look inside, then it might actually benefit. So I think for those people, it can. So it's super individual. But for me personally, I wouldn't because it wouldn't help me. It would just be a waste of time. So that's kind of my view on it. Let's see. Andrew O says performance theater for sure. While it's mildly amusing for her to put the effort they put in it, it kind of shows the key problem on her side. She tried to portray each factor as not mattering without taking care of some other thing, which only formed a perfect circle of no escape. Yeah, that's true. This is nonsense. You can fail literally every single other thing on that list, and as long as your diet is appropriate, you will lose weight, even if it isn't optimal. To remain Anna's size, given how active she portrays herself, requires a lot of intake. I would say that it's clear that monetizing the struggle with drama the way she does matters more than actually fixing the situation. A bit of a conflict of interest is quite likely. Yeah, so there's a huge incentive. Like if you are fat online, there's a big incentive to stay fat, like financially. And I don't think people talk about that at all because when you're a video creator or when you're a content creator, a lot of your brand is your image, and there's not as many things in life where you can have such a drastic image change as being super morbidly obese to not being obese anymore. That's a huge shift. And I talk a lot about, almost to ad nauseum, I talk about the mid-fat phase because it's very difficult, and it's difficult for branding, it's difficult for work stuff, it's difficult for anything image-based because it's essentially like you become invisible. So I struggled a lot with that even for this channel last year, especially. I would say I'm getting out of it now, and I am putting more effort into the channel and that kind of stuff, but I also was getting out of it towards the beginning of the year. I was starting to be more noticeable again, but there was a long time that I was, like, invisible completely. Like, I would post a similar video and it would get, like, 200 views because it's like you're just not it. It's like you're not as attractive or you're not clickable, that kind of stuff. And so from a super morbidly obese perspective, you can actually take a huge L when you're losing weight. Like if I started at mid fat, I would just lose the weight and then I just get better. And I think that's a lot of people's experience. When you're really on the other side, you get a lot of attention for being really huge. And so that dip in attention can be really difficult, and that's why I always say, like, you have to, because it happened in real life too. Like, I was ignored in public, like, almost literally invisible. It was insane. But towards, like, July, it's like I was never talked to in public, and I'm in public a lot, and I was never spoken to. There were even, like, almost comedic moments where it's like I'm standing behind somebody and they don't see me. Like, it's weird. It was really weird, and it's very alarming when that happens, but it's just the way that I looked. It's like people can't I feel like people look at people through, like, heuristics, I think is what it's called, where it's like they file you in their brain. So it's like they look at you and they're like, "You're a super fat person," or they look at you and it's like, "You're kinda small fat, you're, like, approaching thin," or "You're more mainstream." But when you're in between, it's like you're in between those categories, so people don't know where to see you, so they just don't. It's like they just don't see you at all because it's like, "What? What is that?" And they don't even think about it. Hello, hello, Big T. I didn't see what you wrote, Magda. Um, Mark said, I get tons of insight from Sykes, and then it stopped, and every trip was like, fix your health over and over. So I finally did. That's so interesting. Very, very interesting. I love to hear about people's experiences with it for sure. I do, especially people who are at benefits. Um, yeah, so I've heard a lot of interesting stuff, but I've also heard, there's people where it's like they've done it and I can tell that it hasn't helped at all. And so I'm like, yeah, I don't think it's a be all end all for everybody, but there are other people where it has really helped. So I don't really have a hard stance on it personally. I don't. I think it really depends on the person. So it's like if I knew somebody and they're like, do you think I should? Then I would give an opinion. And for certain people in my life, I would say, no, I don't think you should. For other people, I would say, yes, I think you should. Or I think that would be really like a healing thing for you to do. So it really depends on the person. Um, Lady Birdie says she was gaslighting. She takes everything that is not absolute praise as hate. No one said she should not be doing an elliptical. I kind of agree. I don't think people have said that. People said she should not be running, yes, but instead swim. Yeah, that is common sense. She has never shown herself swimming except for vacation. Also, yes, diet is more important than anything. That's also true. I lost 150 pounds and didn't exercise once. Not ideal, but it is possible. Oh, wow. Okay. She just rolls her eyes that she should watch her diet, but whatever it is, her body and life. Seems like actual weight loss isn't that important to her. Yeah. I mean, your true blue caloric moment is honestly just it's calories, you know, but it's like, can you sustain it? And that's what I talk a lot about on this channel is like sustaining a caloric deficit. So it's like exercise can be a huge part of sustaining a caloric deficit because for one, your expenditure goes up. So that's very simple. But also for two, the hormonal benefits of exercise, like insulin resistance and that kind of stuff, dopamine, those types of things can really help because people that are losing weight and people that are obese in general, they have lower dopamine. So you can feel really, really bored. Like, I try really hard to talk about how boring it is to lose weight because it really is boring. Like, there are times where it's like my dopamine is so low that I get restless. Like, I have restless legs, restless arms. Like, I'm that bored where I am literally dying of boredom, like on a daily basis. And the only thing that helps is lifting weights. That's why I literally had to go back to the gym because I was so restless and having so many issues just from being bored to death. I mean, honestly, it's really insane. And you don't, when your dopamine's super low, it's like you don't find interest in things. So it's like I can't focus on Sims. Like I have a lot of ADHD symptoms. Like I can't focus on things that I enjoy. So it's like you're just bored to death all the time. It's really difficult. And I think a lot of people they experience that in weight loss, but they don't make a hormonal connection. But there is actually a biological basis. That's why I argue that lifting weights is really important because it can help. Because I'm telling you, like one of the biggest drivers of eating for a lot of people is boredom. And it's literal chemical boredom in the brain. Like you're literally, as an obese person, you're more bored than somebody who isn't, just in general. And people don't get that. So that's why I talk about and I say exercise is extremely important for most people. But for this person, I mean, she lost 150 pounds and she didn't exercise. So, I mean, it is possible, obviously, but anything is possible in terms of like, if you just cut the calories, then you'll lose the weight. You know what I'm saying? That's totally a thing. It's just she obviously sustained it. She had massive willpower, or she just wasn't as hungry, or whatever. But I just try to talk about things that make it more possible for more people. But most of what I say, it's not like a, you know, I don't know. I'm not the police here. I'm not going to like arrest you if you don't exercise. You know what I'm saying? Um, it's just a suggestion. And I think it's a lot more important than people say. Okay. Life After Losing says, it did nothing for me personally. Exercise literally saved my life. It changed how I think and how I feel about myself. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, for me, I think what really changed for me is just the insulin resistance aspect. Like that was such a huge thing. And then I don't know, like I said, I don't think I can ever go back to being sedentary. I don't think I can. It's just been too much a part of my life now. And so I really think if I quit my other job, I'm just going to go to the gym 5 days a week. I'm going to do weights 3 days and cardio the other 2. I really think that that's what I'm going to do because I can't just sit down all the time. Like I just can't. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know how I ever did that. That's how I feel now. I'm like, I don't know how I ever did that. Far From Jaded says, I wonder if that boredom goes away after the final loss or in maintenance. I would hope so. I have that same thing where I can't focus on anything for very long. I think it depends. It depends on a lot of factors, like how did you lose the weight, right? Or like, did you lose weight in an anti-thyroid way, for example? Like if you did it in a very hypo-inducing way, then maybe not. So if you like starved it off, then maybe not. But even if you did, like if you just replaced nutrition, it probably would normalize. But I think it does go away after the final loss because I feel better when I'm not in a deficit. So I think it is also the actual weight loss in and of itself that makes you bored because I couldn't maintain really this past winter because I had to work too much. So I was too active and I couldn't afford to eat more. So I ended up having like these tiny little hairs of a deficit. It was like tiny. It was probably like I'm losing zero point 0.1 pounds in a week or something, but it's like I still felt the difference, you know? So I don't know. I haven't not been in deficit in a long time, is what I'm trying to say. So I don't know anymore. But it goes on for a long time because when you're really big, you have to be in a deficit for a long time. It's like a long process. Magda says, I wonder that with FAs, they are being rewarded for it being a spectacle. Yes, I agree with that completely. But do you think it's possible they'd find even more dedicated fan base if they found true health? I would say yes, because I think the biggest thing on the internet or on in terms of like being a social media person is to be genuine. And I fight back against the concept that the fat you is the real you. I think the fat you is the fake you. Like, it's not real. It's the hidden you. You're not really there. So I would say, I think yes, ultimately, because you're never gonna find yourself if you're super morbidly obese. Like, you're just you're never gonna be who you really are. It's hard to explain, and they hate it when people say that, or they're like, "There's a thin person inside of you," but I don't talk about it in that sense. I just mean literally, like, you don't know how you look. Other people don't know how you look. You don't know how you think. You don't know how your personality really is completely. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you're so sick, and it's like, you're sick, you're tired, you don't look like yourself, you know what I mean? It's like, you don't know. That's not the real you. So I don't like this concept of fat activists saying that the fat you is the real you. It's not. So I think they would do better in the long run, but that mid-fat phase that I often talk about, that's the rough patch. That's where I feel like people wouldn't, you know. Okay, Life After Losing says, it doesn't go away, it's forever. At least for me, it is. Maintenance is the hardest part of the journey. The weight loss in comparison was easy. I will definitely let you know on my end. I do have some hope, but I also just, I've done it in a very different way, I guess. But I'm gonna see what happens. I can't speak about it because I haven't gotten there. I will say at this point, I have a very easy time maintaining. I have a harder time losing, I feel like. But, you know, at least I'm not gaining anything back. I haven't been, but I've been pretty plateaued. But I think it's because I'm building muscle too, which I don't know. I don't care. I'm gonna build it. So, um, Life After Losing says smaller fan base for sure, but it's possible. But it's still worth doing for you, not for fans. Fans aren't going to visit you in the hospital. Yes, I completely agree with that. Life After Losing. Completely agree. Far From Jaded says, I think their fan base would be more dedicated and loyal, but way smaller. Yeah, it depends. It depends because when you're that big, people sometimes can see that as an accomplishment that, like, wow, like, you're really that big. Like, it's almost like an accomplishment. Like, I can't believe you're still walking or you're still alive. Like, literally, I think that's what people think in the back of their minds. And there's just that spectacle aspect, but it isn't a pleasant audience and it's not a pleasant experience because I used to be a spectacle and then I was invisible, and it's like now I had to rediscover my identity without being fat and stuff and do a lot of internal work. And then you kind of come back to the world and you can just like, you know, it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters as much. Oh, thank you so much, Life After Losing. I appreciate that. It doesn't matter as much to me if I stayed fat or not now in terms of branding because it's like your identity kind of gets stronger because, I talk about in my hypo recovery, my essence came to the surface again. It's like who I really am started coming back on an internal level as my brain recovered. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. I really don't think people understand what they're giving up when they eat so much. Like, they don't. They don't get it. It's really not worth it. Like, it really isn't. That's why, like, I don't like it when that fitness guy was like, "Oh, if you wanna just eat whatever and live your life, like, I respect it." I'm like, "I don't. I don't respect it. I think that's horrible." Like, you don't wanna give up your personality, you don't wanna give up relationships, you don't wanna give up your finances, you don't wanna give up all this other stuff. You don't wanna give up your health, how you look, your whole outlook on life, like, even your belief systems can change in weight loss. Like, people have such drastic changes, and I used to always think that you weren't that different until last year happened, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so different now." But I think the thing is like the other side of me is very illness oriented. It's just not, it's like it was a very controlling side of me, and like a side of me that couldn't handle any spontaneity, a side of me that was like, "Oh, just get away from me." Like that type of thing. Like that's part of my brain is like the illness, obese version of me. Um, and now it's like I just don't care anymore. Like I don't know, it's like it doesn't bother me if people come into my life, or it doesn't bother me if there's some spontaneity or like because I tend to be more into like very alpha type guys, and I don't care if they're like taking charge and stuff like that as much as I used to. Like I don't that type of thing doesn't bother me anymore, or like it used to. It used to really bother me, or I'd feel really threatened because it's that lack of control. It's like a very controlling. I feel like the obesity brain is like a very controlling brain. And that's when people like that's why those fat activists, they're like trying to control everybody. And then they're always like, well, I don't want to be controlled by you. And it's like, you're trying to control everybody else. Like, I can see it for what it is. And I think that they don't like, I don't know. I feel like people are going to be really mad at me at some point because it's like, I see through it because I think about things really, really deeply. And I get it. Like, I'm not the typical YouTuber. Like, I'm super introverted. And so I think about things very, very deeply, and I observe things for weeks and years and months, and like I keep it all like in a journal in my brain. Like it's weird. Like I have years of data. And so it's like it's just the introverted mind, and it's like they're not used to an introvert being online because I'm like, no, like you're controlling everybody else because this. Like I can just like bring it up. And it's like I know what I did in my own experience too, and I see how that's changed. It's like, I don't know, like, this is gonna sound really crazy, but in 2022, like, I was considering not being a Swiftie anymore just because she was putting out a new album, and I was, like, nervous about it, which is crazy. That is so weird. That is such, like, obese mindset. Like, I'm like, "How dare she change?" or something, That's how I felt. And this time, I didn't even care. It was like nothing. It's like there's just so much more flexibility in my mind than there used to be. And I only cringed out with her songs about Travis. I really don't like him. So that I will say, I still don't like him. And everybody tries to be like, you should like him, or why do you not like him so much? Like, ugh, I'm just like, I don't like him. So those songs, I almost died. But the whole album in general, like, I wasn't weird. It's like I could handle that. I can handle other people changing. I can handle myself changing. It's like it's such a rigid mindset. It's hard to explain unless if you've experienced it. But it's such like a static way of living, and you have to just like open up to like dynamic movement things, like living in a sense of like it's okay if other people change, it's okay if you change. Like you see with the fat activists, they're always like, why did Rebel Wilson lose weight, and why did Adele lose weight, and why is Lizzo losing weight now? It's like they don't like other people to change either, and they don't like themselves to change. So it's just really weird. And I've noticed that, and it's a huge difference where it's like it's not a big deal anymore. And I never thought that would change. I never did. um Magda says, you said you were plateaued the first year. It seems like the bigger picture, or the bigger person starts from, there will be more plateau periods. I think so. I think there's also seasonal aspects. I think what's happening right now is I think I got less hypo. Like it's hard to explain, but I feel like I reached a different bracket. And so I think I'm putting on a lot of like lean tissue, basically, because when you're really hypo, it's like your skin, it's like all the proteins in your body break down. You have less of everything. And I think it's been trying to rebuild all that. And so it can look like, a plateau, but it's the same. Like I started going to the gym. I mean, it happened right when I went to the gym. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's also muscle building. It's just a lot of like lean tissue. And then I'm still losing fat because I'm not gaining. I'm staying the same. So it's just like a plateau in the truest sense of the word. Life After Losing says, I work in healthcare and people change when they are sick and change again when they're healthy again. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that. I mean, for me, I think most of my personality changes were probably from the severe hypothyroidism, and that's like a very specific pathology that does have mental health effects that people don't ever talk about. So that could be part of it. But I do think the obesity in and of itself also does have an effect. And it could be even independent from the hypo side, because I think that rigidity of like not allowing other people to change and not allowing you to change, I think that's literally like an obesity thing. I don't even know if that's a hypo thing, because it only started changing after I lost weight. So it's weird. It's so weird. I don't know. I think there's so much to learn about it, you guys. These are just my observations. I wish people would do studies of what I observe. I'm like, do a study on this, do this. I have so many ideas. I wish they'd talk to me. I'd be like, can we look at like, do obese people have a rigid mindset? And they probably would see it. Were you, if it actually DX'd with hypothyroidism, or were your levels just on the low end of normal? Just curious because I'm low normal and wonder if it's affecting me more than I think. So this is complicated, but essentially I wasn't able to go to the doctor for a long time. And so I think I got it tested in like 2016, which that's a hot ass minute ago. Okay, that's a long time. That's almost 10 years ago. I don't remember what my levels were, but based on my symptoms and the things that I felt, it was probably subclinical at that time. In terms of like 2020, it was really bad. And it's like, I'm just like, at that point, I don't even need a diagnosis. Like I have literally every single symptom ever. I'm like, my hair is thinning. I have this, I have that. Like I'm adrenal, it's like, it's just so obvious that I had it. I had moon face. Like I could show you guys. I have a picture. I feel like I look like a sack of potatoes in this picture. But I'll show you guys the face up close. I'm so paranoid about showing my phone because I feel like I'm going to show like horrible things. But that is like major moon face. This is 2020. And then this is what my body looked like in 2020. Isn't that crazy? I told my friend, I was like, I look like a sack of potatoes. But yeah, I was like essentially dying. I was extremely ill at that time. We love the Taylor Swift song on there too. But I was very sick. I was extremely ill. And I was getting so severe that I was starting to like even, oh gosh, I don't even know if I want to say that, but I guess I've said it before. I was starting to hallucinate a little bit. It was that bad because my neighbor was horrible in 2020. Horrible. Okay. And he'd like blast music all the time and it was horrible. And it started to get to the point where like I would hear the music when it wasn't playing. And then my place was infested with cockroaches, which is horrible, at the place I lived at in 2020. And so I started seeing cockroaches that weren't there. So it was very light, like hallucinations, but it was horrible. Like I was very severe. I had constant diarrhea. Like I was always on the toilet. I mean, it was really bad. I don't even want to get into all the details. I'm just saying like, it was very obvious to me that I had a problem. Okay. And that something was going on. I'd have like panic attacks. Like I remember this one time I laid down in bed to go to sleep and I just had like a thought and it was like, what if this happens? And I don't remember what it was, but it's like, what if this happens? And I was laying in bed at 3 a.m. and the thought just crossed my mind and my whole body went into like a full panic attack, like reaction that lasted 3 to 4 hours just because I had a thought. And so I couldn't sleep for like another 3 hours. I used to spend 6 hours in the shower because that place, it had like a shower where it was like shared hot water. And I was so dead that the only thing that would give me relief was the hot water in the shower. So I would sit in the shower for 6 hours. I was basically in a coma. I was dying. I mean, they never saw that because I was in isolation, but it's like, what makes a person sit in the shower or like the bath or something for like 6 hours? It's like, think about it. That's crazy. That is like, I'm dying. So I think, of course I had to get that obvious, but yeah, pretty much everything after that. And then when my temperature was low, like I moved to Alabama and my grandma was getting a surgery, and I went into the hospital and they were doing COVID screening. So I had to do the temperature test, and my temperature was like 2 degrees lower than normal. And I was like, I think it was 96 point something, or I don't remember what it was, but it was like low. Like my temperature was cold. And I was like, oh my gosh. So it's like, that's kind of how I did that, because I didn't have health insurance and stuff. So it's like, you have to just kind of deal sometimes. I mean, people don't think about that, but it's like, it's a part of life, Not everybody's going to the doctor all the time. Not everybody can. So I had to do it on my own. And that was really difficult. But yeah, if you have a subclinical, it can affect you. I don't remember if this is true or not, but I did look at something that I remember reading something that they did lower the standards of thyroid hormone, but I couldn't find it again. So that might not be true. But I do think that they don't acknowledge subclinical. So how hypo can happen is there's two major things. So one of them is you do not have you're not producing. So when you don't produce, that's something that you would find on a test. And it's usually that's like Hashimoto's, or it's like a autoimmunity issue or something else. That's typically what that causes. That's when you're not producing hormone. That's when they would get you on a medication for that. But there are other ways of getting hypo, like if you have a fatty liver, which I do. And I certainly did. I've had a fatty liver since I was like 10 or 11 years old. It's been a long time. And when that happens, your liver's functionality goes down. And so your liver has to convert, I believe it's like T4 to T3 or something like that. It has to convert your thyroid hormone to make it active. So if you have a fatty liver, it's not really doing that all that well. And so that can cause it. And then if you're having a lot of seed oil consumption, that can cause it because it affects absorption issues. So you can have hypo from multiple different things. But if you have like a mega moon face, if you're like this, you have it. Like, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? If you can see it on your face, it doesn't matter what they say. You do have it. You just might be producing. So there are multiple ways of getting it. But yeah, I haven't been to the doctor in a long time, so I can't tell you, what my levels are and all that. But yeah, so that's the facts. But I would definitely look at it, because if you're not producing, then you're absolutely going to have to take medication probably. If it's not even being produced, then you probably will need that. For me, I just took herbs that lowered estrogen, because that's the thing too. If your estrogen's super high, it can give you hyposymptoms, because those hormones oppose each other. So it's difficult. But yeah, it's a very misunderstood thing. And a lot of people are undiagnosed and they just are crazy. It's like, if you're always depressed all the time, you have no idea why. If you're gaining weight really easily, if you have a big moon face, like Amberlyn Reed, where she's like, my thyroid's fine. And I'm like, girl, your face betrays otherwise. Like, something's going on, but okay. It's like, when you look at all these things, you have to see the evidence. You can see it on your face. It's like, something's happening there. But, I'll show you the moon. The moon again. The moon strikes. The moon does not betray you. It will let you know. It's very real. So, and I don't have it anymore. Anyways. Okay, Magda says, interesting. It's like the plateau periods are a version of the body healing itself. Then it resets for the next step. Stall, heal, go, stall, heal, go. Yeah. And I think that that's a typical thing. Like a lot of doctors suggest, you lose like weight for 3 months and then take a break on that month and then do it that way. But yeah, that's where like, yes, I definitely was life after losing. I was definitely Amberlining it. I got it because of my ED. That's why I got it. So if I am having an issue where I'm not producing, it's because I damaged it because of what I did. But people also like you can develop hyposymptoms if you're malnourished. Like if you don't have enough iodine, for example, you can develop it. So I think people just have this idea about hypothyroidism that one, it's extremely difficult to get, and it really isn't. And two, that it's like genetic or something, or it's always autoimmunity. It's not. It can be like if you just don't eat anything, you're going to have hyposymptoms because you're not eating. There's no nutrition to build the hormone. Like you have to give your body the building blocks to create it. So it's like people just, and then if you eat the right nutrients, then it goes away really fast, so it can go away quickly. But when you're obese, the estrogen is so high that you really have to lose the weight to get out of hypothyroidism. So it's difficult, but I'm sure there are some people who can be really fat who don't have hypothyroidism. So I don't think it's a catch all for every single person, but you just got to look at the symptoms. You can go to the doctor. There's probably like another type of test that they have to do. Like the testing isn't great. They need to like make some changes because they don't catch it a lot of times. And, I've heard anecdotal stories of doctors saying that a lot of people are having thyroid issues these days. So it's like becoming more common all the time. And I think it's because of the diet we eat and it's because of our environment. And there's a lot of reasons, honestly. But for me, specifically, it was my ED. That's what gave it to me. So fun times. Isn't it great? So, I mean, if you have a history of like really harsh dieting, far from jaded, then you never know. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to look at the whole picture. But yeah, so it depends. It depends on like, are you super depressed all the time? Are you tired all the time? You just got to think about those things. And if there's really no other explanation, then there might be something to it. And all you would have to do is just like try to go without seed oils for a while and see if your energy improves. Basically, it's like something like that. It can be as simple as that, or just, have a balanced diet, see if it gets better, like, those types of things. So, yeah. Yes, thank you, Life After Losing. They would need to test you almost daily to catch it and maybe working the day you get tested. Yes. Thank you. I'm like, I know that they miss it. Yeah. So you have to but like if it's very severe and you're like moon beyond, then it's like you have it. Like I'm sorry. Like that's a literal physical sign. And I have the thinning hair. I mean, I had so many comments in like 2019. I had so many haters and they were like, "You're going bald, you're going bald." My hair hasn't changed since 2019. So my hair became this way in 2018. And it's like, those are the signs, You can see it. You can see it in me. I don't have to prove anything. You can literally look at my hair. Look at my hair, you know? So it's interesting, but I don't have the moon anymore, and I'm proud of that. That's a very hard-earned non-moon. I'm waiting for the hair to hopefully recover somewhat. Um Magda says this might sound like a morbid question, but hearing a lot of the health risks you experienced, how are people like the Amberlin and Tess is still going? So I think there probably is a little bit of woman privilege, I would say, which I know we're never supposed to say that, but I do think that there is a little bit of that because I think women can cope with higher estrogen. So I think that's one thing. So I think it lasts a bit longer in women, like they can handle it. Women can also handle higher fat in general because women are supposed to have higher amounts of fat. So I think that the effects, they probably hit men faster in a lot of ways. But it depends on some people. There's always genetic variation, et cetera, like all the disclaimers, right? But I think that that could be part of it. But as far as I know, Tess isn't working as much. So I think that that's changing. And then Amberlynn doesn't have a job or anything like that. So it's like they're still going, but it's not the same as it was, in my opinion. So it's still like that gradual decline over time. But for me, it was really accelerated because I had crazy ED, so it totally accelerated it. I think people don't realize like how severe it was. Like it was really like I'm laughing about it, but it's like it's not. It's like a nervous laugh. It's like it was really bad. So it obviously accelerated it faster for me too. So I think that's a part of it too. It made it happen faster because it was worse. So you just have to see. Life After Losing says, I was really bald when I was 30 and morbidly obese, but most of my hair came back when I got healthy. Now it's falling out again because I'm old. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. That's funny. I definitely I want to watch your channel more, Life After Losing. Uh, but yeah, let me see if there's any other comments I want to respond to. Yeah, I mean, I think most of them were basic comments. We didn't even really get any sass this time. I was surprised. I didn't get any sass this week. But yeah, I'm just so like I'm hoping that my hair comes back somewhat. I really hope, but you never know. You don't know. I have no clue what will happen. Um, but I try not to think about stuff like that all the time because you don't know. But it's like, yeah, this isn't balding, it's hypo hair. Because it's just thinner, like, all around, which is it's different. It's, like, a different thing. And I used to have really thick hair. Sad. We love an ED, we love what it can do for you, right? Um, but yeah, I still have a long way to go. Long way to go. But I hope that since I'm getting up earlier now, that means my hormones are kind of getting a little better and I might be getting better. Because I feel like I've been on the line between severe hypo and moderate for a long time, or like it kind of goes back and forth because it's very flowing. It's a very like dynamic disease. It really, like Life After Losing was saying, it could work the day you get tested and then it doesn't later. Like it's weird. So it's a struggle for sure. I know one of my friends was like, you really should just get on thyroid medication, but I don't know why. I really don't want to. I think for me, I just want to see what I can do, which maybe is stupid, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just dumb. I don't know. Don't listen to me. No, I'm just kidding. But it's like, I don't know. I just want to see what my body will naturally do and if it can recover. And it's like, I'm just worried about taking that because it means I'll probably have to take it the rest of my life. Like, it's just, you have all these kind of questions with it. And it's like, I just have to see. But at a certain point, if it doesn't recover anymore, then I'm gonna probably have to. So, and maybe it would show up by then because I haven't gotten tested since like 2016, and I know, gosh, I should have gotten tested in 2020. That would have been crazy. I would have had like the worst. It probably would have been like, oh my gosh, you have to be in the hospital right now. But, jeez, it was so bad. I just remember like from March to July, I literally I laid in bed all the time and I would work from home and I barely worked. Like I'd work for like 4.5 hours. And then the rest of the time I was just laying in bed, like all the time for like months. Like I completely collapsed. It was horrible. It was so scary. Like that's why I don't think a lot of these FAs realize like when your body's kind of dying, it has this like last surge of energy. And it's like it's trying to get you to do something. And I feel like a lot of them are in that state. And then when you get out of that last surge of energy, then you just collapses and it's like, whoosh, and then it just like falls really flat. And so I do think it can happen to them because I see like I talk about Samira a lot. Like I think her body's in that state. Um, yeah, is thriving because she eats clean food. Yeah, like the dietary changes that I've made, they are for life. So absolutely for life. I'm never going back. You're never going to see me eating McDonald's fries probably ever again. You know what I'm saying? Like that's never going to happen. Um, I'm not one of those people who talks about seed oils and then just eats them anyways. You'll never see a picture of me eating it ever. If I ever get famous, you'll never see it. People will be like, they'll take a picture of me, like they took a picture of Amberlyn. I will not be eating fries in that picture. It'll be like, I'll be eating like Sour Patch Kids or something. And that would be like the scandal, I guess. Like, oh my gosh, or Peeps. He's eating candy. Oh my God. That's all they could say. But I'm never going to be eating those oils ever again. Like, and even that, like, I want to go organic, but I can't afford it. So it's like eventually I plan on being organic and everything. So I will continue to improve my diet as circumstances improve. So, but I am a realist. So it's like you have to do what you can do at the time. And what you can do is better than nothing, you know? And I've been dirt poor doing this. Like I've been pretty much I've just been dirt poor the whole time. Let's keep it real. But um you know, there've been times where I had a little bit more money, times where I had less. So like there was a phase in 2022 where I was eating like a chicken every single day, which is crazy. There's a lot of calories, but it's like I was chunkalicious. Like I think my maintenance calories was like 5,000. So I would eat like 5,000 calories a day. And I think about that now and I'm like, I don't know how I ever did that because I think I eat like half. I think I eat like at most 2,500 most days, you know, or 2,400, 2,300 even. So it's like, I don't know how I ever was doing like 5,000 every single day. It amazes me how much I used to eat. And I don't eat like that anymore. I don't even think I could. Like, I think I'd get too full. Like, I'm just like, I don't know how I did that. But yeah, I would eat a chicken every day because I was like fiending for protein. I put on a lot of muscle. That's how you do it. You just eat tons of protein, you guys. Um, Sort of health related. My hair started shedding and thin faster than seemed okay. Turns out my iron has been dangerously low for a long time. Oh wow. I'm 2 months into a 6-month iron journey. Wow. I might have that too. I should look at that, but I don't know. I know I should eat more liver, but I don't want to. I really should though. I probably should. That kind of inspired me a little bit, Magda. I'm like, maybe I should get some liver today. Gosh. Little Kiki Bear says, my sister-in-law has Hashimoto's, isn't taking thyroid medication, is thriving because she eats clean food. Yeah, I think too. I think one of my cousins might have that too. I'm not sure. Rumor has it, you know, but there are naturalistic paths for thyroid issues, but you have to just like figure it out. And you have to figure out what your issue is really. And it's all the journey. Yeah, I don't even know life after losing. Like, I think about it and it's like, holy crap. Like, I used to eat so much. Like, it's like, wow. Like, I don't know how I ate that much. I don't know. Like, I literally don't know. Um, it's really weird to think about a lot. Like, nowadays, that seems like so much to me. And I don't even know how I ever did it. But I think it must have just been being severely hypo and super morbidly obese. It's like a really nice combination that you can eat like a hippo all the time, you know? Because I can't do that anymore. I don't think it's like I think both of my conditions at this point are probably more moderate. It's like morbid obesity, moderate hypothyroidism. So it's different. It's like it's just not as extreme. It was very extreme. I don't know how else to describe it. Because you're right. 5,000 calories is so much. It is so much. Like, it's like, wow. Like, I don't know how I did that. But I ate that way like every single day, like every single day, like all of 2021 and half of 2022. I would eat like that many calories. It's crazy to me to think about it because I could never do that now. Like I think the most I can eat now is probably 4,000. That's like me really pushing it. Like that's like me like I'm just gonna go for it. And it's Christmas and I'm eating whatever I want and I'm gonna eat as much as I can. Like, and it's probably like 4,000. Because even now, like eating at maintenance feels like a lot. Because I'm usually in a deficit. It's just some days it's super shallow. It could be like a 200 calorie deficit, or it can be like an 1,000 calorie deficit, or anywhere in between. But it's like I'm usually still in one because even maintenance calories seems like a lot to me, because I think maintenance for me is like 3,200, 3,300, something like that. It seems like a lot, I don't know. I don't know how I did it, you guys. I really don't. I wish I would have done an eating contest or something because I don't know. I really don't know how I did it. Yeah, as you mentioned your hair concerns. I appreciate that because I'm thinking about liver now. I'm like, I probably should. I really need to have it like at least once a week, but I'm like, I don't know. I'm kind of lazy with that. But it doesn't cost that much, so I really don't have an excuse. It's just hair. I shave it bald. I have embraced the bald. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. I know. I think life after losing is very handsome, I will say. So I will say that. I'll say the controversial things here. And I'm just kidding. It's not. But gosh. Anyways, you guys, I think I'm going to go ahead and go. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. This has been a wild week. I'm still going to be coping with Taylor over the weekend. Your meat, fish, eggs, and spinach. I will not have the spinach and fish. It's not helpful for thyroid, but I will definitely have meat and eggs. Those are very helpful. But I will have fish again someday, just when it's more under control. I'm going to see what Magda says. I have to take an over-the-counter capsule every day. It's called Fura Max. It's worth trying. Some supplements don't absorb well. This is a specific type of supplement. Okay. Yeah, I agree. I agree, Magda. Like, I don't know about iron supplementation. I know I've heard it's difficult, but I think I absorb it well. I think I honestly just don't eat enough of it, to be honest. Because the types of meats I choose and stuff, it's not that high, and I don't have like spinach because it's too there's a lot of oxalate and stuff. I'm not saying I'll never have spinach again in my life. It's just not helpful at this moment. Remember, I'm still moderate. It's like I'm still not healthy, you guys. I'm morbidly obese still. I'm moderately hypo. It's like a graduation, but it's like I'm still not well, which that blows my mind because I'm already so much better than I was, but it's like I have so much further to go. So, and I'm glad I can share the journey with you guys. Life After Losing says, OMG, thank you. That's so kind. You're welcome. It's true. Otherwise, I wouldn't say it because I'm mean. I'm a mean girl. I'm a mean one. So I wouldn't say it if it wasn't true. So, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you guys again later. Have a good rest of your day, night, whatever. Peace.